Hey everyone, it's Todd, Bookspan, the founder of Win by Noon, and welcome to the first Win by Noon weekly webinar of 2022. I am shocked 2022 is here already. I don't know about you, but it seems like I was just kicking off 2021 moments ago, and here we are. So I'm super excited to be here. So let me just kind of lay out what these weekly webinars are going to be about and kind of what my intentions are going forward. And then also talk a little bit about what we're going to talk about today. I'll also give you some insight into some upcoming webinars. My commitment to all of you in 2022 is a lot more content. And the challenge with creating content is you want to make sure it's relevant. And it doesn't really help if I just get on here and talk without a plan, without some kind of strategic focus, for us for the year. And so when I started these calls about 90 days ago on Mondays, it was all around the TCA a day and the CMA a day challenge. And guess what? That's going to be a big part of this year going forward. I feel like accountability is what you need. And I've done accountability challenges here in the Win by Noon community before, and transparently they failed. And I take responsibility for it. And I haven't figured out how to make it in a group like ours, how to make accountability stick. And so just keep watching. I'll probably make some accountability posts that I'll throw in there. And if you choose to participate, great. If you choose not to participate, why not? That's the question for you. Everyone needs a little bit of accountability. And so my goal will be to get on here every Monday, and my minimum time frame will be 30 minutes. Sometimes we'll go an hour. It does kind of depend on the flow of the conversation. These calls are for you, about you, so you can ask questions. I may not answer them in the flow of things, but I'll get to them at the end of the webinar for sure. We'll have guests come on here who will talk about what they do and why it's relevant to you. And really the goal of me creating content this year is just to make sure that I help you reach your potential, whatever you see it to be. And that could be hopefully using the planner. If you're not a Win by Noon user, no big deal, right? The concepts I teach are usable without the planner. The planner just makes it scalable. It makes it easier to achieve the goals for most of the people who use it. Now, when I kind of lay these conversations out as we go forward, I think the biggest thing to know is that it is your opportunity to figure out where you want to head this year, right? Win by Noon, the majority of the people who jump on these calls every week are real estate agents, loan officers. I've got a couple of financial planners I know who jump on, some insurance agents, and there's other leaders in sales and other industries. And so it always makes me excited to see, a variation of who's here. If you want to tell me what industry you're in, you can use the chat. You can be happy to throw it in there. It'd be fun to see what industry you're in and where you are, where you're joining in from. And so real quick, upcoming webinars on Wednesday at noon Pacific is the first launch webinar for Win by Noon of the year. And they're really designed for new users. However, I tend to find that about half of the people who participate are actually returning users who want to refresh. And I think that that's really important to not be afraid to jump back on. And so what I'll be doing on that webinar is I'll be walking through best practices of the planner. I'll be walking through really each section and how I designed it, as well as how I see other people use it, because just because I use it a certain way doesn't mean you have to use it that way. And then also I'll be walking pretty in depth through the ideal week. And the ideal week, I think, is really the mission critical piece for people who want to own their time, right? Who want to figure out where their focus should be and make sure that they hit it, because it's really hard. That's the hardest part. But if you can master your ideal week, then I think you will be able to move forward. And so today's concept was really brought about. I asked a question in a thread in the Facebook group. And if you haven't answered it and there's something I can do, answer it. I would love to see it. And so what that thread said was, hey, my goal this year is to double the number of users of Win by Noon. And Zig Ziglar always said is that something along the lines of, one of you probably knows the quote better than me. I guess if you're going to quote a quote, you should probably have it taped to my computer or something like that. But he said, you can get what you want if you figure out how to help other people get what they want, right? Something along those lines is what Zig said, which is awesome. And the bottom line is this, is that I know that if I can help you guys grow and use Win by Noon, guess what? You will help me grow Win by Noon. And there's really a couple of ways with that, right? The accountability piece is so important, and it's way easier if you know someone else in your office or one of your referral partners that can be your accountability partner, right? And so that is certainly mission critical, right? If I can help you figure that out. And then the other part is really help you understand how to use the planner better, right? That's it. So in that thread that was in there, what said, hey, how can I help you this year? And it's a sincere thread. I've actually got 2 people I'm actually going to jump on quick calls with later today who said, hey, can I just get 5 minutes to help me solve a problem? And I can't do that for everyone. It was only 2 people. So far I can do it. But, again, if I'm here, if I'm sincere about what I'm saying, then I've got to actually schedule the time and make sure that I can help people with what they're looking at. But I did have someone say that they're struggling with mastering their daily plan. And a couple of other people jumped on there and said, hey, I'm struggling with that too. And so I think that is not uncommon, right? It's like, what should my daily plan look like? And it's a hard one. It's actually hard to tackle that. Oftentimes you guys have heard me tell the story that when I got into coaching, right? I was a client of Building Champions for more than a decade. And then I became a coach for Building Champions, and I was a coach for a few years, and it was just a great experience in my life. And during that time, I created and founded Win by Noon and decided to focus my time on that versus coaching. And along the way, what I found was Building Champions taught what they called the core 4. And the core 4 was life planning, business vision, and priority management. Well, not quite in that order. Life plan, business vision, business plan, priority management. And so when I hear someone say, hey, I'm having troubles mastering my daily plan, that's priority management, right? And so as a coach, I would say, well, gosh, I really can't help you with your priority management unless I see your business plan. Like, I need to know what your plan is. And guess what? That's what Win by Noon is designed to do. It's designed to write your plan. Then I would say, gosh, it's hard for me to help you with your business plan if you don't have one, if you don't know what your vision is. Like, really, where are you trying to go? 1, 3, 5, 10 years down the road, what do you see your business looking like? And then lastly, I'd say, well, it's really hard for me to help you grow your business if I don't know who you are as a person, right? Who are you in here? And that's where the life plan would come in. And so the good news for all of you is that there's a life planning webinar. If you didn't attend it, that's up on the YouTube channel. There are 2 business planning webinars that I did. One where I did it standing here and talking because my computer wouldn't let me on. And then the other was on my computer with the PowerPoint up and running through that. So you'll see both of those are also posted to the YouTube channel. So I would encourage you, if you're struggling with your daily plan, the first question I would ask is, do you have a written business plan? So I'd ask that again. Oh, hey, quick side note too. One other webinar I'm super excited about is I'm going to run a webinar a week from Wednesday. You can register, all these you can register for at winbynoon.com/calendar. And you're going to see, I'm going to try to do a better job of scheduling webinars more than like 3 days in advance and post them in the group, but I'm not going to post every webinar. That'll be a lot of stuff. If I'm doing at least 1 webinar a week, probably 2 a week is probably what my cadence will be. Just go to the winbynoon.com/calendar. You'll be able to see those all. And the webinar I'm going to be doing a week from Wednesday is the top 3 ideas to grow your business in 2022. And I'm super excited about it. It's really geared towards new loan officers or loan officers who've been in the business for however many years you've been, but repeating the first year over and over again. You know who you are. And I think it'll be relevant for anybody, but I'm super excited about that. So there still looks like about 40 spaces left on my Zoom account for that one. So if you're interested, jump on in. And so going back to what I was saying, so you need to have a business plan in order. That's like little me distracted. Oh, look, there's a bird, right? Sorry. You need to have a business plan in order to set your daily priorities in place, right? So if I'm going to help someone with their daily tasks, I need to know what your plan looks like. And let me kind of help you connect the dots on why that matters. Because, ultimately you kind of need to know what's the goal for this year, right? And I'm not going to walk through the whole business planning process because you can go back and watch one of those, but I'll give a few pieces here that I think are mission critical for you to be thinking about if you are going to try to figure out how to be disciplined around your focus each and every day. And the words that I'm using a lot this year is commitment, standards, intentional or intentionality, some version around that. And so you're going to hear me say those words over and over and over again, because it's really important. If you're not really intentional about your time, if you're not focused on your commitments, and if you haven't set standards of performance for yourself, guess what? You're probably not going to hit your daily task list. And so oftentimes what I find is the reason that people don't know what tasks to schedule today is because they aren't crystal clear on what the plan is for the year. And so you hear me talk a lot about that. That's the part about Win by Noon that's the hardest. It's also the magic that once you unlock it, it unlocks the mystery of really what do I need to do today and how many of those things do I have to do today? And, I would tell you that I am training someone new. And so if you looked at my personal calendar today, right, you would see that number one is I did a team call this morning. Number two is I dialed with this new team member all day today. And then you could transparently look at what I committed to. I committed to 20 lead and client calls. I committed to 10 partner and partner prospect calls, and then with a goal of 30 quality conversations. So much so that you can see I actually whited out here where it says live meetings, because I'm not going to have any live meetings today. And I just said, hey, I'm going to have 30 calls. I'm going to show them what I can do. And that was in 3 hours today, right? I committed myself 3 hours to do that. And I made 33 outbound calls. I talked to 25 people, like live quality conversations with people, because that was critical to me. And then I planned out the rest of my day, right? For this webinar, prepping for it, content is here, the calls I mentioned that I'm doing, and then I've got an hour scheduled to react at the end of the afternoon. And so when I tell you what it is that is out there, because people are like, Todd, well, you're just really busy. Well, I'm busy doing the things that I'm intentional about being busy with. And as I'm training this new team member who is transparently going to be running my pipeline from when I was a loan officer, right? So I've got to get him up and running. I've got to show him how to do what it is I'm doing. And I've got to be laser focused with the amount of time I have in a day. Because guess what? I've got the same 24 hours today that you have. And it's all a matter of what time do I get up, right? And I didn't get up super early today. Did I get my morning routine done? Absolutely. Did I have extra time in there? No. Why? Because I didn't get up super early today. But that's okay. This isn't about the morning routine, the other pieces. It's about what do I need to know if I'm going to get this new team member up and running to close the number of loans that I need him to close this year for the team. And what do I think the number of conversations that he's going to have each day? Well, I can tell you because I know the data, right? I know if he makes 30 outbound calls a day, 20 to clients and leads, 10 to partners and partner prospects, and he talks to 30 people a day based on the historic conversion rates of the relationships that he's working, that's going to lead to 20 loans a month. Now, I know the numbers because they've been tracked, right? When you record your activities and you track your results, you can figure out what those numbers are. Now, you may not have that yet. So then great, today's the day to look at it to start. Now, what happens if you're like, well, Todd, wait a second. Wait, I didn't do that. I don't know what my numbers are. I don't know who I've talked to. Well, guess what? You've got a phone and you can pull out your phone and you can look at anyone that you outbound texted to. You can look at anyone that you've had a text conversation with. You can look at who did you dial outbound to. You can see who dialed into you. You can go back on a piece of paper or on your planner and you can write down those numbers. And so the best day to plant an elm tree was 20 years ago. The second best day is now. So again, if you didn't record your activities last year, that's okay. We're going to start now and we're going to do that. Because ultimately, I can tell you, he doesn't have to think about what he does each day because he already knows what the number is. The first thing he's got to do is dial out of the way. Now that's tied into Ideal Week too, right? So I'll talk about Ideal Week at the webinar on Wednesday, but ultimately he also knows what he has to do every day in order to get there. And when you're crystal clear on what are the calls I have to make, who is it that I have to call, then hitting the numbers isn't that difficult. Now, the weird part about it is that one of the other team members on my team sent me all his numbers. And guess what? His conversion rates are lower. Well, guess what? His goal for the number of loans he wants to close is also lower. And so I'm going to be coaching him on a couple of things. Number one, based on his closings, I'll be able to tell him exactly how many calls he needs to make for each closed loan that he wants. And I'm also going to see where's his conversion rate lower than the conversion rate of the other team members. And by spending the time to look at that, I'll be able to help him understand with pretty much clarity. I can help him figure out where's he suffering, right? And is it that his referral sources have more bad credit so that I can coach him on how to coach his referral partners on how to pre-screen some people so he doesn't have to maybe get as many bad leads and apps? Is his conversion rate from application to pre-qualification or pre-qualification to closing lower? Well, maybe those are just some scripting things that we can tweak and help him with script or with process of how to get those across the line. But in the end, he also will I say will because I haven't actually figured out his numbers yet. They're just sitting there so I can go through them, but I can already tell by looking at him. I've looked at him. I'm just waiting for his final loan closings of the year so I can help him reverse engineer what does that number look like. But it looks to me like he's probably got a number that is a little bit more. Like he's going to probably have to call a little bit more than 30. It's be more than 30 for one closed loan. And so he can decide every day if let's just use that number 30 for a minute, right? If maybe that's your number, but if it's 30 people for a closed loan, now guess what? When refis were booming from the spring of 2020 to the middle of 2021, that number for my team was lower. It wasn't 30. It's really like 29, 28, but I round up to 30 because we want to push in the extra effort. It was actually closer to 21 calls and conversations for a closed loan. Well, why? Because it was easier. You were converting more people over to a refinance. It's a purchase market. The market has shifted. The second half of the year, that number went up significantly, 50% more phone calls to have the same result. Now, the difference is that someone could just kick it in now. You know what? I'm just going to do less loans this year, right? I'm going to make 50% less calls. Therefore, I'm going to do, you guessed it, 50% less loans. And, figure out what that number looks like, or you can dig in now, figure out, well, what do I need to do today to get there? And so let me kind of unpack this a little bit more, and then I'll kind of get to a little bit of some of the philosophies and mindsets I think you can do without having a numbers focus to know what you need to do for your day. And so, again, if you know what the number is, you can figure out, what do I have to do today in order to ensure that I hit my goal at the end of the year? And then you have to course correct, right? So my team had to course correct midway through 2021 because we could see that time frame was expanding, the number of calls, right? Was going from 20 closer to 30. And right there, the team was able to catch it and start making more activity to get the same results that they wanted versus waiting until the end of the year saying, you know what? Came up 25% short on the goal. Well, they would have come up 25% short on the goal had it not been noticed early on. And that's the whole idea of daily to weekly to monthly to quarterly tracking. It gives you that insight into the numbers. It gives you the plain facts, black and white, of what you have to do in order to get there. And the whole point is not to wait to the end of the year to figure it out. The whole point is to catch it along the way, to make the course corrections, to look for those opportunities, look for the places where it's a mystery of why I may or may not be having the success that I was hoping to have. And so, kind of as we think through this, I'm hoping it's kind of sinking in. I see some questions here, and I'll make sure that I get to those in a minute, but I want to, kind of finish it out. The bottom line is that number one is, do you know how many calls you need to make to close a real estate transaction, to get a listing appointment, to get a buyer's appointment? Do you know how many calls you have to make in order to get an application and get it to closed? That's just a easy way to start with setting yourself a daily standard, right? Really, what's your standard? So Dave Savage and I interviewed a guy named Andrew Paul. I've known Andrew for, I guess, at least maybe 8 years, maybe a little bit longer. And the dude's a stud. He's a freaking Navy SEAL, right? And when you think of badass, you look it up in the dictionary, it's probably going to be a Navy SEAL, an Army Ranger, or somebody like that. And Dave and I did a call around setting standards because they have standards of how they grade people. And most of us don't have managers who are helping us with our own standards. We've got to figure it out for ourselves. Maybe you're lucky and you've got somebody who can do it. But the bottom line is that I can look at my team and I can tell them what's the standard based on their activities and their results that they need to hit in order to hit their goal, right? I'm not setting their goal for them. They're telling me what their goal is. I'm looking at their numbers and I'm telling them, this is your activity commitment you have to have every day. So I think, anything, before you get anywhere, is you need to know, what is it that I have to do from a call and a conversation perspective? Because that's part of all of our businesses, right? You're going to talk to people, and by talking to people, you're going to sell them a house, you're going to sell them a life insurance policy, you're going to sell them a homeowner's insurance policy, you're going to sell a house, you're going to help buy a house, whatever it is, but you got to talk to people, right? That's that. So first off, we got to help figure out what your number is. And in the end, it's just going to be every day, writing down the numbers, looking at it for a week, adding that up, doing it the next week, adding that up, doing a 2-week average. Okay, how am I doing? Then take the third week and you're averaging. Now you have a 3-week average, and you hit the first month and you have a 4-week average from the first month. And then over the quarter, you've got an average for 13 weeks. So the more you do it, then the more the law of averages kicks in, and you can see, what do my numbers have to be? And then you've got to look at that activity. Now, you know me, right? When am I going to do those activities? before noon, right? Why? Because the rest of the afternoon I can react, I can run around, I can meet with people, I can do all the other things that I have to do, because guess what? I did everything that I set out to do today, other than I haven't had all the conversations. But guess what will happen is the fact that I have made 8 more calls than I talk to people. That just tells me that the phone's going to ring and those people are going to call, and I'll have that from 4 to 5, that hour I've got set to react. I'll fill that gap in. I mean, it's unlikely that I won't, but let's pretend that I get to the end of the day and I didn't get there. I'm spending 3 days this week dialing alongside of my new team member. And that means I got 3 days of 30 call commitment and 30 conversation commitment. Well, I already told you I hit my 30 calls for the day, my dials, but I haven't had my 30 conversations. So let's pretend I get to the end of the day and I only had 28. Well, guess what my number will be tomorrow? And again, I circle it in my planner, right? So it's not like I'm guessing it. It's actually circled. Like, this is it. This is the blank part. This is the part I've got to get in there. And so if I don't have my 30 calls, if I get 28 done today, guess what my number is for tomorrow? My minimum standard, my commitment is going to be 32. Now, if I wasn't willing to quit at 5 o'clock, like, well, I shouldn't say willing to quit. Well, yeah, I am going to quit at 5 o'clock today. If I wasn't quitting at 5 o'clock today, let's pretend I was at 28 at 5 today. I would actually pick up the phone and keep dialing until I talk to 2 more people. That could be a potential lead. It could be a potential referral partner. It could be a current referral partner. It could be a current client. I don't care who it is, but I'm going to get on the phone with people and talk to them. And in the old days, I would have actually, if that took me till 5:30, I would have done it, right? But you know what? I've got a commitment to be home and be dinner with my family. And so I'm going to get it done by that time. But tomorrow, if I came up with 28 calls, guess what? I would be doing 32 tomorrow. I'd be committed tomorrow because that's my standard. And I promise you this, if I was fully at it, originating, I wouldn't get to the end of the week and not have all of my conversations done. I mean, it's a daily thing. Now, what happens if I did 32 conversations today? Am I only going to put 28 down for tomorrow? Heck no, I'm still going for 30 tomorrow. That's how you push it over the top, is by pushing yourself every day. So first and foremost, you need to think about is, how many people do I want to reach out to? And if you don't know what that number is, pick a number, right? Look at your phone. How many have I already called today? I've only called 5 people. Well, you'll have to figure out, if you only call 5 people a day, is that going to hit your goal? And it might. I know some people that their goal is smaller than my goal. And for them to do smaller amount of calls is fine, because I don't believe it's one size fits all. I think the reason that I'm telling you, you've got to figure out your own number, is because you've got to figure out your own number so you can decide how hard you want to work. I can tell you this, if I was going to call all day, shoot, if I made 30 calls in the first 3 hours, that just tells me if I called for 4 more hours, I could make 70 calls today. But that's not what I'm here to tell you. Nobody wants to do that all day. You want to be able to crank out those things first thing before you get distracted by everything else. And that's where the ideal week comes in, because I know you're thinking, well, who the heck am I going to call, Todd? Like, how did you know who to call? And I would tell you that. I'll walk you through that in the ideal week, but I'll give you a little bit of glimpse into that now, right? Mondays for me, I don't care what business you're in. It's really playing, launching your week, right? It's playing from the driver's seat, being in the front seat versus being in the back seat. And so I'm going to do a little reacting in that. So I'm going to look at what calls, emails, texts came in over the weekend that I didn't respond to, what calls, texts, emails came in that need to be responded to, right? So then you're going to start your to-do list from that, right? Ironically, my to-do list already had a couple things on it from last week, commitments I made and said, hey, okay, we will do this for you on Monday. And so they're already on the list in the planner. And I had to get my new planner out. I had my old planner and I had to get the new planner and put it in there, because I didn't start the new planner until the first of the year. Some people started last week, I know. And then the other part is, so really it's clearing out emails. It's really setting up your week. Like who do I want to be intentional with, right? So, the first thing that I did was I reached out to 4 realtors that I know that I want to set up meetings with this new guy so they can meet him and see what he's got going on. And that are people that are some way either done business in the past with a team, currently do a little bit business, want to do more, but ultimately was proactive in those initial phone calls. And guess what happens when you do that? One was just via text, because the guy only likes to text. Guess what? That was one of the calls. It was a lead call and a conversation, because already referred over a lead, right? Referred 1 lead last month. That was it. Already got 1 lead this year from being proactive and reaching out. And so it's having that list of who it is you want to intentionally go after. It's catching up from the weekend. It is reaching out to the team. Hey, team, is there anything else that you need me to do? Who do I need to follow up on? And so in this case, my wife runs the team, and she said, hey, here's a list of all the things that would be really helpful if you guys could do. So what I do, I printed it out. And guess what? It had on there the things. And so I was crossing off and highlight what are the things that I got accomplished on that to-do list, that are things that he's got to do that I can help him, show him how I would do it to get going. And then so again, who do I want to set appointments with? Who do I have to follow up with from the weekend? And that was really it, right? And then from there, it's just other things that are coming in that you have to think about. You also have to be, what else could possibly be done, right? So he set up a total cost analysis to someone last week. So guess what? We called that person to see if they had any questions. There was, this funny thing that we did last quarter in last half of the year was called a TCA a day. Well, guess what? He's got to do a TCA a day. Guess what? His goal is actually 2 annual mortgage reviews a day. So guess what he's doing right now? He's sitting outside the door over there and he's working on TCAs proactively for people who aren't expecting it, that he's going to do annual mortgage reviews for. And then guess what? We'll put a video on it. I'll coach him through what to say and what to do after we look at it together after this call. And then from 4 to 5 in the reaction time, we're going to send that out. Well, guess what? That'll be 2 calls on the list tomorrow. Assuming that people don't call, they'll be on there. Hey, follow up on those 2 reviews and set a time to talk to the clients about it. So as you do these kinds of activities every day, right? If you've committed to it, if that's your standard, right? So the standard for him is a minimum of 1 TCA a day, 1 annual mortgage review a day with a target of 2. And he's brand new in the business. Guess who he's targeting? He's targeting the past clients of mine from when I used to do loans. It's not that hard, right? If you just think about what are the things that you can do. And so that's why this call always comes back to, all right, if I'm going to set up my day, number 1 is you just have to be intentional. So let me just kind of walk through what my day looks like. All right, I'm looking here. All right, someone wants to talk about my morning routine. All right, we'll talk about that. That's good. So, all right, so let's talk about going back to the quest. So the quest is master your daily plan. So first off, it's hard if you don't have a business plan, but let's pretend that we need to do it without having a plan. So number 1 is that you have to be intentional with your week. So again, a lot of it's funny, it's not even that colorful because I originally did it on the wrong page, but here's what my week looks like, right? So you can see here, I got on there, right? My morning magic. That's what I'm calling my morning routine this year, right? It's got react that last hour of the day. Like I said, it's got unplug right here at the 5 o'clock hour. I want to be unplugged and not working. And I actually have it at 5:30, but I'm trying to unplug at 5. That's my target with the absolute out at 5:30, because that's when I'll sit down with the family. Right. I've got my mornings committed to dialing. Right. So normally that would be like really fancy and highlighted and stuff, because I think that's, I'm a visual person, when it comes to that. And so, they're not always really colorful, but I'm trying to find a colorful one, but that's, of course, I don't have a prop ready. And so I think, first and foremost, you have to know what your week looks like, right? So that's why in our business plan, I put on, what do you want your ideal week to look like? And so I did one for the business planning call, one of the calls I did last week. And it's just on the back of the business planning tool. I mean, ultimately in the end, this is what it should look like. You should be dialing in the morning, whatever business you're in. You should be goal of winning by noon, and then you should be reacting all afternoon. And so that's why that's on the back of the business planning tools. What do you want that to look like? Now, it doesn't look perfect like that all the time, because you can see in here, right? I've got different things built in here, different appointments that got scheduled that kind of come in there, but that's what that time is. And if somebody says to me, Todd, hey, can you meet at 10 o'clock? I'll be like, no, because I've already got a commitment at that time, right? I've got a commitment. I'll say, hey, I've got a commitment at that time. Can you meet in the afternoon? And if it's a super important opportunity for me personally or for my team, guess what? I'll say, yep, I'll do it. But it's got to be a really big opportunity. And even before I say yes, I'm going to try to push them outside into my reaction time in the afternoon. And it's typically for me going to be in the last 2 hours of the day. Why? Because I can talk to you all freaking day, but I can't plan and think all day. And so for me right now, I got really intentional. So one is, what do you, if you want to talk through morning routine, what do you want your morning routine to look like? What time do you want to get up? What time do you want to be at work? And so again, like today I'm in my office, but I work a lot from home. And so I have to think through intentionally, what's my week going to look like? So that's why I know here, right? What time do I have to leave if I'm coming to the office? If I'm not coming to the office, then what time do I have to be butt in chair? You have to set a schedule for yourself, right? You've probably seen me talk about it before. You got in this business, whichever business you're in, to set your own hours. And that's the exact reason we fail, right? I should say you fail and look you right in the eyes, but maybe you're not failing at that. But in the end, we don't have a committed schedule. So for me, I knew my committed schedule. 8:45, I was on my team call, and then I transparently got it done early so I could make those first 4 calls. I made those first 4 calls probably by just a little bit after 9, and I was just in and running. But I started work at 8:45. I knew I was going to be in the office at 9, so I did that call while I was driving in. Again, I'm super intentional about it because that's when I want my day to start. And then I made sure that as I hit the noon hour where I wanted to switch to preparing for this conversation and working on content, guess what? I let my phone go to voicemail. Shocking, right? Like, it's not urgent, right? There's nothing urgent that's coming in that I have to worry about. Guess what? They're not going to hear from me till 4 o'clock. And it is what it is. I don't believe it's going to cost my team business. I don't think it's going to be super urgent. And, I've got some calls scheduled, and those calls will be able to come in. So number 1 is I would be intentional around my morning. What time am I getting up? And what am I planning on doing? Number 2 is what's my start time? And then number 3, what are my most important priorities for the day? And so again, we'll talk about Ideal Week on Wednesday, and I'll get really specific for loan officers and real estate agents. And I'll talk a little bit about the sales side of it as well. But ultimately, what are those most important critical things that I'm gonna do while my brain is the freshest, right? Even if you're like an afternoon, evening person, your brain is still really fresh in the morning. Like, what do I want to knock out to get done before I get everything else? Now, what do I not do? I don't get sucked in on my phone. Like, I didn't check Facebook. Like, I'm trying to be really good at social media now. I didn't actually get on Facebook till about 35 minutes ago. And then guess what? When we get off of this, I'm going to get on Facebook again, because I'm going to do a little live thing that I committed to do. Again, I committed. When people hold you accountable, I got a text from Deborah Bird, so social media guru at info or at plugandplaysm.com, and she gave me an idea and said, "Would it be great if Todd did this every Monday?" So I'm like, "Oh crap! All right, so I'm going to do that." So that's actually what I spent my time prepping for here, is how to prep this thing that she wants me to do. So I'm spending my time prepping for it because I've committed to do it. And guess what? Whether I want it or not, she's going to hold me accountable to it. And so therefore I'm going to do it, right? So it's funny. It's something I probably would have let slide, but now I got someone holding me accountable. I know it's going to grow my business, and she's the social media guru, and she says I should do it. Guess what? I'm doing it. So that'll be part of my afternoon. You'll know if I did it, because you know how you'll know, because there'll be a live video on my personal feed. It'll be in the Win by Noon group. And if I was successful at setting it up, it'll also go out to YouTube at the same time. But what else is it that you're committed to get done? And so that's why when I say you have to be intentional with your focus and your time, you also have to say, okay, can I let this next call go to voicemail? Like, I didn't have to make that decision this morning. Like, no one called me that was like calling me to talk about, my nephew, Jacob, winning our fantasy football league, right? That could happen on a Monday morning. And guess what? If it was one of my family members calling me, it would have gone to voicemail. Because I don't think they're calling me with anything that has to do with Win by Noon or my mortgage team. And so it is really critical to know, what are your blocks of time that you're going to commit to? What else is you need to get done? It could be personal too, right? There could be something personal that maybe your significant other asked you to do. It could be something personal that you want to do yourself. I don't have any of that stuff today on my calendar, right? Today, it's all about helping launch my team member. It's about creating content, and it's about reacting at the end of the day. So I leave with all of my stuff tied up. And if it doesn't happen, so I've got on my to-do list from today, I have, right? So here's my to-do list from today, right? I only had one really super important thing. I haven't done it yet, which is really bad to show you guys, but I really have till the 8th to do it, but it's on top of my list, and it'll roll till tomorrow. So at the end of the day, if these other people who I've reached out to don't call me back, then I will actually highlight them, cross them off my list, and I will move them to tomorrow, right? So right now, my tomorrow is still blank. None of them have gotten over there. But again, anything that I commit to do today to anyone, it will be written on there. So I didn't commit to anyone, hey, I'll get that to you tomorrow to follow up. But these people, by the end of the day, I'll spend a few minutes before I leave my office, and I will transfer them all over till tomorrow. So again, think about what is it you need to do, and then schedule it down. But you have to schedule the white time as well, right? So I had technically an hour between when I stopped dialing at noon and when I had to get on this call, where I was going to be able to react, right? So that was me, a couple texts back and forth with Deborah saying, hey, what is this, how I'm supposed to do this? And she said, yes. So that was great. And then I went on, I set the thing up on my little StreamYard is what I'm going to use to do that. And so it was a little bit of prep time to be able to react in there. I did go in and look at my email. Now, I didn't respond to my emails yet. I looked at it real quick. Was there anything that was mission critical that I needed to respond to? And if there was, I don't read each email unless I've got time to respond. So there was emails in there, someone, asking, hey, I'm thinking about getting Win by Noon. I could see that in the little preview. And I didn't read the whole email because I didn't have time to respond. So again, that'll be part of my react time from 4 to 5. And I have to be okay with that. I have to be okay with the fact that there's someone who wants to subscribe to Win by Noon that I haven't replied to that fast. Adam's at Disneyland. If not, I would have forwarded it off and had Adam reply to him, but he's not here. So the person is going to get substandard service today. I'm sorry if you're on this call. But ultimately, that's my commitment to the other things I said I was going to do. My goal is to put out a piece of content every day, Monday through Friday. And so I've got to get that, I've got to get that done. It's really, really important. Someone was asking about where does Deborah Bird have her posting schedule. If you go to her YouTube channel, she did a post on that. So just go to Plug and Play SM, look up her YouTube channel. She did a post a few weeks back on what she would do for a posting schedule. And so that's, super valuable. And, just go to email info@plugandplaysm if you want to set up a call. That's her email. And she wants, I think, 10 or 15 new clients. She put it in when I said, hey, who needs help with something? That's what she wants. So if you're a mortgage person looking for someone to help you with social media, it's who does my Win by Noon stuff. I would certainly highly recommend it. And so I know my morning routine, what time I'm going to hit the desk. I know how many people I'm going to call. And again, if you don't know how many people are called, just start dialing it and set that time block. And then I've got some white space. I had an hour of white space to react. And I had to get prep for this. And then I knew I had this. I've got a call after that. I'm going to do an hour and 15 of content when I get done with this, right? So again, how long does it take me to do the content? Hopefully 5 minutes. That's all Deborah wants me to do. But I got to prep for it, right? I got to get the things now all working and make sure everything's all set. So hopefully it won't take me an hour and 15. And so I'll take that extra time. Let's pretend it only takes me 45 minutes. Then I'll still have 30 minutes left and I'll use that to react, right? I've got a little bit I didn't schedule myself so tight that I won't have time to do anything else that comes up. And then I'm also okay scheduling something for next week, right? So if somebody says, hey, Todd, can you get together, right? I have to weigh it on my personal priority schedule, plan. Like, one guy said, hey, I can't get together till later this week, early next week. Well, later this week, I'm tied up, right? I've got commitments. I'm recording a podcast. And so I've got a commitment to be at the studio all day and do that. Well, guess what? So that's easy when I just bump it to next week. Guess what? I'm going to give them the options. I'm going to meet with them between 3 and 5 because that's the end of the day. I can talk to anyone all day, but I can't think all day, right? I couldn't dial at the end of the day 30 times. I'd be wiped out, right? You'd be wiped out too. And so I'm hoping it kind of starting to sink in and make sense that in order for you to master your daily plan, you have to have a daily plan, right? Your daily plan starts with, guess what? Starts with knowing what your week needs to look like. And then it's going from there. That's what my week is going to look like. I dial in the mornings, I react in the afternoons. And then, for me, mine will be content. And then I'm going to actually be really crystal clear. I spent time yesterday doing the schedule for the week. And then when I woke up today, I put it all on here and it got over to here on my planner. And the reason is it's visual. It reminds me what I should be doing. It's sitting there in my face, right? Is it in my calendar on my phone? It is all these appointments, but it doesn't tell me to dial. It doesn't give me that reminder. It doesn't remind me to do content. I could put it all in there, but it's not the same as having it sit next to me on my desk. And so really it's just a matter of you knowing what else it is that you've committed to do. So now that I look at it here, I can see at 4 o'clock, I committed to call somebody back, right? So it was a lead that got text that got called, someone called us with, texted him because that's what the realtor said to do. And he said, I'll be available between 2:30 and 3 and after 3. And I texted him back and said, awesome, I will give you a call after 4. Now I could call him at 3, but guess what? I've got commitments at 3 o'clock and he's okay with it, right? I gave him the time I would do it and he gave me the thumbs up. And that's where you sometimes go wrong. You look at your calendar when someone says I'm available at 2:30 or 3 and you say, oh, I'll just call you at 2:30 or 3, even though I committed to do content at that time. And it doesn't get done, right? And so I'm not trying to be a jerk about it. I'm just trying to, poke you in the side a little bit, trying to help you understand that. So what else is it that you want to get done? And so in the end, what I would do when I get off this call, if you haven't thought through this stuff, is number one, don't be worried if you don't know your call number. I spent a lot of time talking about how to create it. So just start now and go forward with it. But you should know what it is that you want to get done in a day. And so when you look at your whole week, what are the commitments you've already made? Make sure they get written down. Right? If you go into the Win by Noon user mastermind group, you can see there's downloads of the business plan in there. And the business planning tool Here's the new brand new 2022 planning tool. Now this one's the one that's wrong. It's actually supposed to be 2021 here because this is last year's numbers. We put a new tool out every single quarter. Why do we do that? We do it every single quarter so that every single quarter you update your plan, right? Now I'll tell you what I have. I'm a nerd, right? So I just bought this super thick, so thick it makes noise, 110 pound. It might be too thick actually. 11 by 17 paper. I'm going to run this through and I'm going to actually get I'm going to get my business plan for the year on this. Why? Because I don't want it on this, right? It's important to me, right? My calendar will be printed on this. So again, if you want to copy it, you can email me. I can send you the printout, the 11 by 17 version that'll print out. The calendar that comes in your Win by Noon planner every year. Again, I'm going to redo mine on thicker paper. I like what we send out. It's what I currently had for last year, but I'm going to go thicker paper for 2022. And so you've got to be, in order to, I keep looking down because I want to make sure I say it correctly. In order to master my daily plan, I need to have a plan for my week. Like, what do I want the outs to look like? What are the big blocks I want in there? And so then go in there and write them in there. So write in there for the week so that you can then make it for the day. What are the things I've already committed to? Personal, professional, right? What are those things I've committed to? What are my boundaries? When am I going to be sitting at my desk? When do I want to be leaving my desk? If I'm working from home, when do I want to be working? When do I not want to be working? Are you going to take a lunch, right? You know what, I got a protein bar with me, and guess what? I ate it while I was talking to people on the phone today. That's my lunch. If I would have brought a salad, guess what? I would have eaten the salad while I was talking to people. I would have been reading something while I was eating. I would have been prepping, right? It's going to be during my prep time. I don't take 30 minutes and go sit and not do it. Now that's not healthy. You should maybe take a lunch. So if you want to take a lunch, schedule it, right? Get it, get it in there. I think that is, I think that's really critical. And so once you've got the rest of those things in there, then you have to decide, well, what's the rest of those buckets going to look like? What is my time frame for dialing? Now, a lot of you work for real estate teams. And if you work on a real estate team, you guys put your headset on, you dial for a couple of hours. Like my best teams that I know dial 2 to 3 hours every morning, and they do it first thing. Why? Because they know the rest of the day they're gonna be running around showing houses. And so for them, it's not number of calls, it's hours on the dialer, right? And they know from their records, because they all keep track of it, is that if they dial for this many hours, this is how many people they talk to per hour, and this is how many appointments they can expect from it. And guess what? They're successful because they're forced to do it. They've got that accountability. And so ultimately, I think if you're going to master your plan, you've got to come up with your plan. You've got to know what are those things that are going to be critical every day for me to do. The ideal week when we teach it, we'll walk you through how I would schedule it if I was a loan originator or real estate agent, because in the end, that's what it boils down to, right? It boils down to you and your life adjusting my ideal week that worked for me, and it works for a lot of people, and then adapting it for you. And then you just have to be able to focus on it. So for me, when I stick the planner out, like right now it's folded up like this, I actually stick it out on my desk, opened up, voila. And the reason I stick it open up, because then I can see it all, right? It's easier. Like at home, I'm working on this round table that my big 16-inch laptop and my planner barely fits on. One of them has to hang off the edge. Which is fine with me. I still have it out because it's the reminder, what should I be doing right now? And I'm not a big fan of alarms or anything like that. So I don't have alarms and alerts that tell me these things, but I'm always looking back. I'm looking at the clock up on my computer, and it's telling me what it is I should be doing now. Now, I'm not perfect. Guess what? There's going to be times where it takes me longer than I thought. And then I'm going to have to say, okay, well, I didn't get that piece of content done that I want to get done. Now, the best daily plan, mine just says content. What it really should say is it should say, do the 5-minute live video that Deborah told you to do around the Win by Noon quote. So what it should say is live quote, and it should be right there. It should be more specific. The more specific you put on your calendar, the more likely it is you're going to succeed at it. And then again, I haven't really thought through all this stuff, right? Like I want to do a piece of content every day, and I paid Deborah. She actually creates really great Win by Noon content for me. So my easy buttons by default, one is I'm going to try to plan in advance, but I'm just going to most likely take her content that she does, and I'm going to repost it with my extra commentary. Her problem is her commentary is so good, it makes it look like I'm really smarter than I am. But again, what are the other specific things that you need to do to own your plan? The reason that I'm going to get on and talk a lot about the CMA and the TCA a day, just that one thing right there. If you do a CMA a day, and if you're a real estate agent, then I know you're going to have more transactions. In fact, what Jimmy Burgess would tell you, who's done a lot more work on studies around this, is that if you do between anywhere from 5 to 10, the average was around 8 CMAs, unsolicited, meaning you just pick people out in your database and you send them, you're going to get a listing or a buyer from it, right? So think about that. If you're like, I want to get another transaction, well, that's take 5 days this week and 5 days next week, you're going to get a transaction out of it most likely. Now, maybe you won't. Maybe you got to do the next week and the next week. And then maybe by the last week, you get 2 transactions out of it. But the law of averages will kick in at some point. Same thing's true for TCAs, right? Do a TCA a day unsolicited, right? Who in your database can you send one to? Now, you might just be sending the person who's got a 2.5% interest rate that you did last year, and you know it's not even close. But you could still send them a TCA. You could throw a video on it. And some of you might not know what a TCA is. If you're not a Mortgage Coach user, it's the Mortgage Coach Total Cost Analysis, the best tool for doing it. And same thing if someone's not going to buy or sell a house, you just put a video on there. Hey, just want to give you a quick update on your home. Your home, it's amazing. Looks like your home has gone up a lot. It looks like it's worth between $400,000 and $450,000. Kudos to you. Great job. Good time buying the market. Here's what comps look like. Here's what it looks like on a net sheet minus your mortgage. I don't know what that amount is. How much you net if you sold your house today. I'd be happy to give you a little more insight. It's been so long since I've seen it. But if you want to give me a call, I could just drop by for 5 minutes. I could just take a quick look and tell you what I really think it's worth. Boom, that's it. You gave an action plan, you're off, right? Total cost analysis, awesome. Hey, real quick, just want to let you know, you crushed it. You got your loan at the right time, 2.5%. Rates are up, way up higher than that. But real quick, I just ran you a couple extra things. I actually ran it if you did an extra $100 a month of paying down your principal, how much faster you pay down your home. I don't love that idea. I actually like it better where if you take $100 a month and you put it in a bank account, I just put a small rate of return on there. You can look and see how it grows your net worth even more over time. And then this last one, since your house went up so much in value, I just didn't know if you had any other bills outside of your mortgage that might be worth paying off. I just did a quick cash out analysis so you could see what that might look like if you wanted to do that. Or maybe I would have thrown a 15-year, hey, real quick, I didn't know if you thought about doing a 15-year loan. Here's what it would look like. But there's other things you can put in that TCA. You just shoot it off and then you put on your list to follow up with them tomorrow, see what they thought of it, right? Hey, what'd you think of my CMA I sent you? And so I think that is, I think that's key. Oh yeah. You know what? Tammy talked about the HomeBot report. That's an easy way to do it too. If you're a realtor or loan officer using HomeBot, just log in and look at the activity because that's telling you who's actually looking at it. Right. She's saying go with the HomeBot report. Again, same thing to tie in if you're a loan officer using it and your TCA, send them both together. Love that suggestion, Tammy. Someone's asked me, what's the class date for the ideal week? That is going to be the Wednesday launch webinar that I'm doing. So I will talk about that in the launch webinar for Win by Noon. I also did talk about it in the business planning webinar that's recorded up on the Win by Noon YouTube channel. So you can check that out there as well. So I am rattling along, 47 minutes in. Take a quick drink because my throat is dry because I'm so excited to talk about this stuff. I did plan out my food and my electrolytes for the day, which again, it's what else can you plan out to be more efficient with your day, right? If I'm going to master my daily plan, and then just kind of to roll into it, right? So my goal is to be, again, I set myself a standard, I set myself a target and then an absolute, right? So it doesn't always have to be, this is, it's not always going to work, but like for me, for sure, I'm going to be done working by 5:30. So my target is 5 o'clock and I'll be done by 5:30. I can tell you when it comes to my numbers for activities, those are absolutes for me, right? But like TCAs and annual mortgage reviews for my guy, I set a minimum of 1 a day with a target of 2 a day, right? That's 10 a week. And guess what? He's new. He's going to try to impress me. So guess what? I think he's going to do 10 a week. I'm going to give him a bigger list. He actually could do more. Because he's got more time, right? He's got time. He's not as busy as you guys are. And so some of you are saying that, well, Todd, but I'm so busy. I'm so busy. You just don't understand how busy I am. And then my question always is busy doing what? Are you busy doing the right things? So some of you may know every once in a while I like to do a little day trade in stock. And I decided this year, you know what? I got 2 things I'm doing and that's it. And guess what? Those 2 things each require 1 or 2 things for me to do each week. So I did it this morning. Turned it off. So I didn't look at it all day like I used to. Again, distractions, right? Facebook. Again, you guys are checking your Facebook during the day. I'm not. I waited till afternoon, right? I already told you I didn't check my Win by Noon email and go through everything that's in there. I just looked for what looked urgent in there. And so I think that it's you've got to come up with your own set of standards. And so for me, I wrote a document on it and it's called My Standards for Success. And it sounds super nerdy, but I work on it all year. And literally I've got pages in here of things that I wrote out and bookmarked in my planner, my poor planner. This one's just so beat up, right? But you can look, here's a whole day I spent with my buddy, Coach Michael Regan. And I went through in different areas of my life, what I wanted to do. I had personal, I had Win by Noon, I had for my team. And then this stuff is what's getting translated onto my planner. So the reason I know what to do is because I spent time thinking about it. And so for you, that might just be what you have to do when you get done here is just think about, well, what are those commitments I want to make to myself and to my family? And so I committed I would be done with work by 5:30, and I'd rather be done at 5. Why? Because I can be a better husband if I'm done by 5. I can actually go down and I can make sure all the dishes are in the dishwasher. I can say, hey, honey, is there anything I can do to help get dinner going? Because she's probably working till 5:30. Guess what? That's what happens. And so I can be a better husband if I can do that. Well, today I got to drive home from my office. That's going to take me 30 minutes. So if I don't leave at 5, that's why I said today I'll be out of here at 5. If I don't leave at 5, I won't be home by 5. And I can make excuses of, oh, sorry, I got stuck on a call and I didn't want to do it in the car. Well, that's not going to happen. If someone's on the phone with me at 5 o'clock, they're coming with me in the car. It's what I got headphones for. And so I've got commitments, right? In order for me to have a good morning routine, I actually have to have a good evening routine. And so for me, when I unplug, I try to take a few deep breaths. It sounds really, really goofy, but just try to take a few deep breaths and clear my brain so that I can walk into my house in peace, right? If I'm on a phone call when I pull up to the house today, guess what? I'm gonna say, awesome. Hey, I gotta run. It's great talking to you. Gotta run. Click. And I'm gonna run in the house and take my few deep breaths, and I'm gonna unplug, right? Put work behind, leave the phone out of the way. The phone rings after that time, I'm not gonna answer it. It's hard for me to do it. It'd be hard for you to do it, but you could do it. And then I know I've got to head upstairs by 9 o'clock to unwind and be ready to go to bed if I'm going to get up early and start my morning routine. And so just things that you have to think through, as you kind of go through your life, what's going to be important to you. That's why I said life plan matters, right? Like I know what's in my life plan. I know what's really critical for me there. I know what my vision is for, the team and where the team's trying to go. And so that fed into my business plan. My business plan tells me based on the numbers what I need to have my team do. And so I can coach them and encourage them to do it. And this week I'm actually helping them do it. I think those things are really, really important. So someone says, what's my advice on creating, setting, editing morning and evening routines? And do you keep that in your planner? It's interesting you say that. I do keep it in my planner and I watch it, right? So the planner does have it, right? So again, I'm a nerd, right? What does it say there? It says weekly standards, right? So my weekly standards here is, 4 hours of on time, right? I know if I spend 4 hours working on my business is going to grow. I'll do a lot more than that. Social media, 1 per day. That's going to be hard for me. Handwritten notes. I suck at handwritten notes. I put it on here. It says 5. Guess what? If I don't do 5 a week this year, it's never going to be on my list again. Because if I can't do it this year, I'm never going to get it done. Sleep. I have an Aura ring. I want an 80+ sleep score. Exercise. I want to hike, run, or work out 5 days a week. And then I want to do what I call 3 to thrive. So I interviewed a guy named Kevin Kaufman. If you're from Arizona, you might know who Kevin is. We interviewed him. He said he's 3 to thrive. He reached out to 3 people. He does it twice a day. I'm going to try to do it once a day. 3 people that I haven't talked to in a long time just to reach out to and see how they're doing. I might just do it via video text. But he says he texts the emails or calls them. And then I have here, those were just the highs of my day for that day. So I've got those pieces in there. And then if you look at this, you can see here what I was targeting, for exercise, stretching, reading, sit-ups, push-ups, reading something spiritual, learning is listening to a podcast or reading a book. So again, I've written all these things out for myself. And so if I was trying to improve any of those routines, number one is I would write out what am I committed to do? What's my standard to do? And what's my minimum standard? So like for me, meditation is important. And so I didn't wake up this morning and have time for full 10 minutes of meditation. So my minimum standard is I meditate every day, but then and my target's 10 minutes, but I did a 5-minute meditation this morning because at least it got me in the right mindset. I'll do a 10-minute meditation before I go to bed. And so, I think when it comes to, you and your routines is you got to start tracking your routine and what did you do? And then you have to look at it and say, is this what I want? Right. For me, it's, my goal is to keep my health in a certain spot, and I'm really mission critical. I know what that needs to look like. My goal is to eat a certain way in order to have the health. I got to exercise a certain way to have the health. And so a lot of it has to be built into my morning and my evening routines. I'm a nerd. I said I track my activity and my sleep on my Oura ring. I wear amber glasses, if the TVs are on if the TV's on at, after 9 o'clock. I don't look at my phone afterwards. I use my Apple Watch. Literally the only thing I use my Apple Watch for is, hey Siri, set an alarm for blank. And it's my alarm clock in the morning. So it vibrates, wakes me up before my wife gets up. I don't have an alarm that goes off and makes a lot of noise. But I don't have screen. I don't look at screens. Like, again, my work phone is not is not anywhere I could see it. My personal phone is there, but it's face down, and it's really just there in case there's an emergency. My kids could, could reach out to me. Someone's asked me to email a recording. Just go to the YouTube channel. It'll be put up there by tomorrow. You'll be able to re-watch it there. And so I think in the end it's getting crystal clear on what your routines need to be. Again, goes back to what I said, if you want to master your daily schedule, you need to know what it is intentionally you want to do. And then you just have to say, I'm going to do it, right? So I said the word commit, right? So I set my standards. I commit that I'm going to hit my standards. And then I'm very intentional with my focus and my time, because ultimately in the end, if I see where you're focusing, whether it's the right or the wrong things, will tell me whether you're going to hit your goals as we head to the end of the year. And so my want for all of you is to kick ass this year, right? I want you to reach your potential, whatever you believe it to be. And my goal is going to be to do a weekly call here on Mondays from 30 to 60 minutes, either me ranting and raving at you or having a guest on here who's much smarter and more brilliant, attractive than I am to actually give you some of their knowledge. My commitment is to make sure that you are doing some type of an annual review of your clients. So if you're in the real estate space, it's a CMA. If you're in the mortgage space, it's a TCA. If you're a financial advisor and you're an insurance planner, it's whatever annual review you would do there, because I think that's what's going to help you grow your business. And I would put that on your to-do list. And just know my goal is to figure out how to add value to you, how to help you get to where you're trying to go. And I know if you're committed to doing it, you'll get there. And I'm going to show up here every Monday at noon Pacific. You'll notice that the rest of my webinars I'm doing, guess what? They're at noon Pacific. Now that stinks right now because it's 1 o'clock my time. I'm in Arizona, and then eventually it's going to be noon again. But it's my commitments, right? My commitments are on my calendar. What I commit to gets done, what's scheduled gets done. And I think you can do the same thing. I know that it's going to be hard. It's never easy. It's hard for me. And I'm the guy who talks about it all the time. And I know I'm trying to instill some new habits myself, and I think you can do the same. I'd like our community to be the impetus for that. I'd love you to be part of the conversation in there. I'd love you to be talking about accountability in there. I see lots of people talk about it. I just don't see a lot of people follow up on it. So let me know how I can help get it done. And so, all right. So Tammy is turning on Do Not Disturb after 9 until 7 a.m. That's life-changing. I agree that, right? The iPhone makes it really easy. I don't know about you Android users, what you would have. But I think that's key. And then someone's asking if it's recorded. Yes, it is getting recorded. I will get it up on our YouTube channel. Just look up Win by Noon on YouTube. You'll see it up there. It'll probably be up there tomorrow. And I just wish you a fabulous day. For those of you who asked for me to talk about this subject, AKA mastering your daily plan, I hope this helped. If it didn't, reach out to me. Let me know. If it did, I would love you to give this video and YouTube a like if you're watching on YouTube. Have a fabulous day. Have a great week. And let's all make 2022 the best year that we've had. Here's what it's going to take. It's going to take you taking action. So you just sat here for 57 minutes. And if you don't do something with what you just learned, then you just wasted an hour of your time. So take a few minutes, take a deep breath, think about what you just looked at or you just heard, look at your notes and take some action. Appreciate you guys so much. I look forward to